Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 18 of the Giro d'Italia 2025. Today's race is 144 kilometers. I'll call it 90 miles in length with 3 categories climb. Guys, when I went to bed last night and we look at this course with 30 kilometers flat section, before we hit the first category 2, that's only 7.5 kilometers at 5.8%. When I went to bed last night, I thought this could be a field sprint with just a little bit of harmony between the sprinter teams, and you got a field sprint, no doubt about it, on today's stage, because the first one at under 6%, and then the next 2 that are under 5, we're talking about 4% climbs, the last 2 climbs on today's stage, followed by a descent and then flat all the way into the finish for 60 kilometers of today's stage, with a circuit at the finish of 12.5 kilometers. It's a technical circuit, but it's flat. I thought for sure this would be a field sprinter stage. But when I got up and turned on the cameras, we start seeing some interviews from Caden Groves, and he talks about how there has to be some harmony amongst the teams. Well, that's what I said. There has to be some harmonies. But multiple other sprinters, when we're looking at Corbin Strong, talking about it could be a big break going up the road. I'm thinking, how do you let a big break go up the road if you're Visma Bike, Albacin de Koenig, and Lidl Trek? Mads Pedersen, Caden Groves, and Olaf Koy have a shot at winning a sprint here at the Giro d'Italia. It should be a field sprint. Okay, let's get into the stage. First, the neutral section comes. Ayuso's at the back of the peloton talking to his team as he's off the back of the peloton. Then he's talking to the official car. Then he rolls up to the back of the peloton as we hit kilometer 0, and attacks are happening all over the place. We'll see attacks from Mads Pedersen. Lidl Trek? Mads Pedersen's throwing in attacks? This could be a field sprint stage. Why are you throwing in attacks? Well, he's not listening to me. He's going up the road. We see Visma Bike's closing gaps back there, so maybe Visma Bike want a field sprint for Olaf Koy is what I'm thinking. And Albacin de Koenig look like they're on the same mind page as, of course, Visma Bike. At the back of Peloton, though, it's going wicked fast, and Ayuso's at the back of the Peloton with Fortunato swinging on the back. Now, we start finding out from the commentators that he had a bee sting in yesterday's stage 17, so he's back there suffering a little bit. We see him remove his sunglasses there and start rubbing his eye, and you look at his eye, and you got to believe right now this will be it for the 25 Giro d'Italia for Ayuso. That's going to leave with a bee sting. But as we're coming into about 5 kilometers before the first climb starts, big break goes up the road. So we're about 25 kilometers, 20 kilometers into the stage, 125K to go. Big break of 35 riders start forming at the front. Now, in this 35 group, we see Albacin de Koenig's at the front. Caden Groves is in here, and he's got 2 teammates, Van den Bosch and Edward Plankert. We start looking at Visma Bike. They have 3 riders, too. Affini's in the group. We look at Dylan Van Barley in the group, and the big guy, Wout van Aert's in the group. Now we start wondering where Lidl Trek. Well, they're in this front group, too. Mads Pedersen, if you're asking me, Chris, is he in there too? Mads Pedersen's in this front group of 35, and he's got Vasek with him, and he's got Dan Uhl with him right now. So 3 of the big teams with 3 sprinters are in this front group. Now I'm thinking, well, maybe it's not going to be a field sprint because 35 plus riders, like 37, and 10 teams with multiple numbers. Multiple numbers of 3 with 10 teams. Don't go to the bank with that, but it's something like that number. It's huge. So as we come into the first climb, this is the most difficult one. This is the one that I thought if you back out all the way up to kilometer 0 and you're a sprinter team, you ride the guy that can't climb on your team for 30 kilometers to start this climb with the peloton all together. You hit this climb and you let the attacks go. The big GC guys aren't going to attack on this stage. There's no doubt about it. It's a flat finish for 60K. There's no way they're going to attack. The second category climbers here at the Giro d'Italia probably wouldn't attack because they don't like 60 kilometers flat either. And we have stage 19 and 20 in tomorrow's stage of the Giro coming, so they want to save their legs. That means it's only going to be third-class climbers going up this road. So if you're a sprinter, and if you're Visma Bike, Lidl Trek, and Caden Groves from Albacin de Koenig, you only had to hold off third category climbers going up this climb, and it should have started all together, but instead we have 35 plus riders starting this climb at a 1-minute gap to UAE Team Emirates back there pulling. Now, why is UAE Team Emirates on the front? Well, they're on the front because when the group's bigger than 35 riders up there, you know for sure that their director sportif is losing it in the car back there because he's trying to figure out, is there any dangerous rider in this group of 35 plus? Well, there isn't because it's only Diego, my old teammate from Astana, that's in this front group, and he's 40 minutes down on the general classification. So UAE Team Emirates are setting a soft pace up this climb as it starts extending out. We go up to Albacin de Koenig with Edward Plankert riding at the front of the peloton. He looks like he's struggling. I call it the front of the peloton. It's front of the break, excuse me. 35 riders. You call it the peloton 1, peloton 2 back there. But Edward Plankert's got an ugly face on him. Now, Why don't I like this move? Well, I already told you they could have controlled it and kept their whole team together. But now with only 3 Alpecin de Koenig riders and Caden Groves, the pure sprinter, Edward Plankert's already on the front right now. We're only 35 kilometers into the stage, and he's drilling himself to keep this group together and gain time on the peloton. And I'm thinking, okay, guys, you started the Giro with an 8-rider team. The reason why you started with 8 is so that you can control the peloton. If you started with 3, you would immediately say, Chris, you can't control a peloton with 3. Can you control 35 plus riders with 3 riders and you only have 2 riders that can control the front? How's Caden Groves actually going to be able to keep this group of 35 together? How are you going to control that? Well, they're trying with Edward Plankert. They go up to the top of the climb. Astana grabs some maximum KOM points. Who cares? This battle's basically over at the Giro. But we look at the Alpecin de Koenig riders at the top. Van den Bosch and Frank Plankert looking at each other as Edward Plankert, and Van den Bosch look at each other. I got to believe they're asking themselves, is this a good idea, having a 3-rider team with 35 plus riders? It's not, boys. Sit up. Go back to the peloton. Get more teammates because you're already over the hardest climb. Instead, Alpecin de Koenig, they keep riding the front. Okay, they're going to ride the front. We're going over some climbs, some soft climbs. You barely even notice their climbs when you're watching from the Chesterfield. We come into 70 kilometers to go, and Mads Pedersen grabs himself some sprint points with 2 riders for company. This is the first little acceleration from the group of 35, and Edward Plankert has to pull it back. We look at the back of the peloton. Nico Denz is back there cooling himself off as Edward Plankert from Alpecin de Koenig's doing some hard work on the front. But he does pull back Mads Pedersen, and we come into just over 60 kilometers to go, and we see it's Francisco from Intermarché throwing the first real tack. This gets brought back right away, and then we see 3 riders throwing a tack with about 55 kilometers to go. As these 3 riders are going up the road, Edward Plankert's still back there riding the front, and we see Nico Denz still cooling himself at the back of the peloton, having a good old time for Bora Hansgrohe. He made the split, but he's only by himself, so he can't control what's happening at the front. But Alpecin de Koenig, he knows they want to make a field sprint right now into the final circuit. That's 12.5 kilometers long that they had to do 2 times. So Nico Denz knows, stay calm like a bomb right now and cool yourself off. As Edward Plankert, Alpecin de Koenig's getting some help back there, a little bit, not a ton of help, but they're getting some help. They're going to bring back 2 of the 3 riders with 40 kilometers to go. 37 kilometers ago, they bring back Manueli from Bardiani, the last rider up there. Now everything's together again. Okay, Alpecin de Koenig have controlled it now, but now this is a difficult section because we're coming onto the circuit. As we're coming onto the circuit with about 35 kilometers to go, Mads Pedersen's at the back of the group here of 35 riders. He's having it out with one of the officials because the official car won't get out of the way to let his Lidl Trek car come up and start handing him some bottles. We look just in front of Mads Pedersen. This is why he's panicking. Let's take back up the film just a hair, look at it from a front view as we see 9 riders going up the road, and Mads Pedersen's back there getting some bottles from his team car. So he grabs 2 bottles really quick right away and rides up to the back of this group. And as he gets to the back, those 9 riders are gone. They're going up the road right now, and it's Nico Denz that's about one of the last riders, along with Alex Edmondson from Picnic rider there. As those 2 throw up an attack on the left side, they come together and they'll bridge up to the front group to add 11 riders to the front group. Now, you just went from 35 riders with Alpecin de Koenig running on the front with Edward Plankert. We look at this group 11. Is this really ideal? Edward Plankert's in this group 11. He's the only one from Alpecin de Koenig. You can rarely control a group of 35 with 3 riders. Now you're in a group 11, and Edward Plankert's been on the front throughout most of this stage, drilling it. Now he's the only rider from Alpecin de Koenig, and he's got 10 enemies wrapped around him, so we'll call him 11 guys. We want to look over at Lidl Trek. You want to see who they have? Dan Uhl's in this group. Mads Pedersen was back there, the sprinter that's won 4 stages. Okay, he hasn't won a flat sprint against sprinters, but he's won 4 stages here, and we know he can win flat stages. But instead, they're going with Dan Uhl in a group of 11. Okay, we see that. Now we see Viz Melissa bikes. It's Dylan Van Barley up there. Dylan Van Barley has Wout van Aert back there. The big guy Wout van Aert's been finding some form. He's won a stage here at Strade Bianche, that's stage 9. And he's helped out Koy win sprints. But they didn't want to go with Koy in today's stage. And they don't want to use Wout now. They're going to go Dylan Van Barley in a group of 11. When you're with 11 guys, you cannot control 10 guys unless you have the form of Wout van Aert that he had in the 22 Tour de France. Then you can control the whole peloton. But nobody's got that form. So we got 11 guys, and chaos can strike at any moment. As we come into 25 kilometers to go, this is the finish line. When we see the finish line, they're holding a gap of about 1 minute on the group behind, maybe 1 minute and 30 at this moment, as the group behind just started going curb to curb because each one of these guys in the group behind have a teammate in this group 11, so nobody wants to chase. But again, 11, you're one guy fighting 10. So this is bad odds. We're coming into 23 kilometers to go, and it's the technical section. Nico Denz is coming from the second position. We see Larry Warbass as he passes Warbass, the American rider from Two Door Cycling. He passes him and then dives through this right turn, this technical right turn. As we're coming through the technical right turn, look at Larry Warbass looking back over his shoulder as he's coming through the turn. Don't look over your shoulder when you're going through a right turn right now, technical. And you got Nico Denz going full gas in front for Bora Hansgrohe. Nico Denz knows he's got a gap, so he gets on the accelerators. Larry Warbass is looking over his shoulder. Nico Denz is throwing on the accelerator button right now, and he's starting to get a gap on everyone. It's going to take Edward Planker from Alpecin Koenig to close the gap, and Nico Denz was going fast. So now Edward Planker's again using some more bullets, and he's been firing bullets throughout this whole stage. So everything's back together. We're coming into the feed zone section at 19 kilometers to go. We look, Edward Planker's out in the wind again. Second wheel there, that's Conchi from Astana. Third wheel, Nico Denz. Nico Denz coming through the first feeder. You see him grab the bottle, and the bottle drops and hits the ground. Then you're kind of wondering what happened. He's going for the second bottle, but as he's going for the second bottle, you see him reach back and put something behind his back. Let's back the film up just a hair and look at that first bottle. All right, the Soigneur here had a bottle and an ice bag attached to the bottle, so Nico Denz wanted the ice bag. He grabbed the ice bag, put it behind his shoulder, and then was quick enough to come up to the second feeder. Same thing, as you see the bottle drop. He didn't want the bottle, he wanted the bag because he's still got a bottle on his bike, so he takes that second bag and shoves it down his back. If I back the film up multiple times, Nico Denz had been cooling himself off at the back of this 30-rider group, never touching the front until we got on the circuit near about 37 kilometers to go. And when he threw in that massive acceleration to jump across to this group to put 11 guys, but now he's got two ice bags down his back, and we're coming into this technical left turn. As we see Conchi on the front, Conchi's flying through this left turn, and we see Nico Denz sitting second wheel coming out of it. Nico Denz is going to throw in an acceleration to the left side of Conchi from Astana as he goes near the banner there, just rubbing the banner almost. He comes out of that, and then the parking spot opens up for the housing neighborhood right here as Nico Denz moves hard to the left. He moves hard to the left, and we see the parking, the driveway kind of lift up a little bit from the roadside as he's going maximum left because he knows he's got a hard right turn coming up. And Conchi's sitting second on his wheel, but Conchi's been on the front, and Conchi looked like he's hurting a little bit trying to follow Nico Denz. Nico Denz drops through this right turn, almost scrubbing the corner of the building there, flies through this right, comes out of the right. He's got a gap. As he's got a gap on Conchi looks like he needs some help, and Nico Denz is coming into the chicane just a few hundred meters after exiting that right turn. Once he comes in the chicane, you start looking at the speed. The kid is doing 57, 58 kilometers an hour. Conchi's back there still swinging, and Pulte, Mikko Maestri, is sitting second wheel. As Conchi's coming through the chicane with Nico Denz in the front going full gas, Conchi's looking back for some help right now, and the Pulte rider doesn't look like he wants to give any help either. As they both come out of the chicane, they're looking back over their shoulder. They need some help. Well, they don't really get some help as Nico Denz going solo up the road, holding about 57, 50 kilometers an hour because the no help back there, the group of 10, it's going to come from Edward Planker throwing an attack up the left side. Edward Planker at Alpecin Koenig been on the front all day long. Like I've told you multiple times, he better be able to do 60, 65 kilometers an hour because Nico Denz is doing 58. So Edward Planker's stuck in the middle, and eventually he gets caught from the group behind. That means the gap is out to about 17 seconds to Nico Denz. But the road's a little bit wider, and it'll take some more turns for Nico Denz to start putting in a little more time as we look at the group of 10. They're not gelling well back there. It is not looking like a party back there because these guys, or maybe it is looking like a party, not a bike race, but they're not gelling well together. So the time starts staying at about 15, 20 seconds up to Nico Denz. Then once he starts getting back in the corners and coming into 12.5 kilometers to go, the last and final lap here on stage 18 of the Giro d'Italia, Nico Denz is still holding about a 25-second gap on the group behind. As they come through this last lap of the Giro d'Italia, Nico Denz is railing everything, but the road's a little bit wide until it gets narrow again. Then he starts really railing it. Then we look behind. Larry Warbass from Two Door Cycling is throwing in attack, but guys, the gap is getting up there, still holding at 25-plus seconds to Nico Denz. And Nico Denz is coming back into 6 kilometers to go. Why am I bringing up 6 kilometers ago? This is the scene of the crime. This is where it all started originally on the last lap before. Nico Denz knows this section as he went through the feed zone. Now he goes through the left turn. When he goes through the left turn, we get a great view from the back of what we saw from the front the last lap of Nico Denz as he flies through the left exits on the right side of the building, comes back over to the banner, rubs the banner, jumps back up onto the driveway parking lot. It's like a replay of the last lap. Nico Denz knows exactly what he's doing here on stage 18. Comes over the left side of the manhole cover before he dives his bike hard to the right. Dives it to the hard of the right. We see the corner of the building again, shoots that, comes out on the fencing, and then throws in everything he's got left in the pedals, because with 5 kilometers to go, the gap's starting to extend out to 32 seconds. Come into 4 kilometers to go, it's still going back up. Come into 2 kilometers to go, 40 plus, 45 seconds plus, you know it's game over for the group of 10 back here as Nico Denz is flying into the 1K banner. He's got that 45-second gap still. He's going to start celebrating to the camera with kisses and waves to the camera. Comes into the last few hundred meters. Now Nico Denz is going to start celebrating big time as both arms go wide, and he's celebrating, screaming, excited as he crosses the finish line with both arms wide. He wins today stage 18, his 3rd Giro d'Italia victory, because he's won 2 in years past. And right now he's winning his 3rd, celebrating huge for Bora Hansgrohe, who had a rough Giro d'Italia in 2025 when Primoz Roglic, a 5-star favorite, #1 favorite, when the Giro d'Italia crashed out, left the Giro d'Italia after 4 crashes. Well, Nico Denz is going to take a little bit of that pain and suffering away from Bora Hansgrohe as he crosses the line and starts celebrating with his swan years afterwards. We look behind the group of 10, all knuckleheads back there, especially the sprinter teams, Alpecin, De Koenig, Visma, Lisa, Bike, and Lidl Trek. You guys are all knuckleheads. We see Pulte's coming through as Mikko Maestri is going to win this place for 2nd. And Edward Plankers for Alpecin De Koenig's going to round out for a podium here. Why you guys raced the way you did makes no sense to me. But when we look at the stage winner, Nico Denz, I know why you raced the way you did, because you were amazing. Cooling yourself off the whole time in that group of 35 back there sitting last wheel until you came into the circuit, and then lighting everyone up at the crucial sections to solo victory win here. With just about 18 kilometers to go, all the way in the finish, riding marvelous through all the corners, and the power you were putting on the pedals was quite impressive. Now, when we start looking at tomorrow's stage 19 and 20, we're back into the mountains. It's time to find out whether or not if UAE team Emirates Del Toro can back up all the excitement displays that he had in yesterday's stage victory that he got here at the Giro. Can he do it again? Well, like and subscribe. We'll see you guys on the Butterfly Effect for stage 19 real soon.